I'm Mike Smith, and you're watching The Harbor. You know what's incredible to me? All the different things that people are afraid of. I mean, people are afraid of anything. They're afraid of heights, we're afraid of flying, people are afraid of cars, people are afraid of speaking in public. I mean, literally there's a fear for almost anything. Like anatidophobia, it's the fear that somewhere, somehow, a duck is watching you. Or decisiophobia, which is the fear of making decisions. Maybe a lot of you struggle with that. There's even a phobia called hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia, which is ironically the fear of long words. I mean, people are afraid of everything from squirrels to butterflies to belly button lint. I mean, the list goes on and on, but those things, those aren't my fears. My biggest fear is being mediocre. When I was a kid, one of my biggest dreams was to open my own skate park. I'd lay in bed at night just dreaming about it and thinking about it, and when the opportunity came after college to start my first skate park, I remember being extremely excited for the opportunity, but at the same time, I was terrified. I had this fear of not living out of my purpose and not living out of my passion and not creating this thing that I'd always dreamed about doing, but I also had this fear of what are people gonna say about me if I fail? What are people gonna say about me if this doesn't work? What if people hate on me for my ideas? So on one hand, I was terrified to try, and on the other hand, I was terrified not to. But I decided to go for it. I decided that I was gonna have the courage to try to make it work. And I had to do anything I could to make it happen. I had to borrow money from my friends' dads. I had to sleep in the skate park until it was built. I basically did whatever it took to make this dream happen. An opening day of my skate park was one of the most special days of my life. Watching parents sign waivers so their kids could skate, watching hundreds of skateboarders come in and skate this place that my friends and I created. And for the first couple months, everything was great. Kids were skating, we were having a great time. You know, I was excited because I was being interviewed, and there were stories written about this young CEO starting his first nonprofit. And then I looked at the checking account a couple months in, and I realized we had no money. Being an executive director or a CEO of a nonprofit, it's hard. Raising money is difficult, and I didn't know how to do it. I had no idea how to make this place make money. And I was terrified of what would happen if I had to close the doors on something that I created just a couple months after opening it. So I did the only thing I could think of. I got stubborn. I made a choice that I was gonna sleep under a bridge and live homeless until we raised $10,000 for my charity, and I wasn't gonna come out from underneath this bridge until we reached our goal. And I was terrified. I was scared of sleeping under a bridge, living where homeless people live, just being outside for that amount of time. I had no idea how long this was gonna take. I was honestly terrified, but I did it. And the first night happened and we raised a little bit of money, and the second night happened and we raised a little bit of money, and it ended up taking 27 nights of sleeping underneath this bridge, and we reached our goal of $10,000. And it was an incredibly uncomfortable situation, but at the same time, it forced me to have courage. It formed this incredible community of people that believed in not just me, but in the skate park that we created. And it took that little moment of courage, it took looking my fear in the face and kind of stepping out on the ledge and going for it to kind of help create all the things that we've done today. My whole philosophy on fear is I don't even like to talk about it. I don't want to give it power. Sure, I'm afraid of things. We all are. But if you focus on it, if you focus on that fear and you give it all this power, well, then it begins to control you. On one hand, we have this obsession with wanting to be courageous and wanting to overcome obstacles. And sure, it takes being afraid of something to overcome those obstacles. But I hate focusing on this idea of what are we afraid of. I love focusing on the idea of how can I have courage. You see, fear, it costs us something. When we let fear control our lives or dictate the things that we do, it really does cost us. Some of you are talented. Some of you have an incredible ability to sing, but you're afraid to try out for choir. Some of you want to play sports, but you're afraid that you might not make the team. Some of you want to hang out with a new friend group, but you're scared of what your current friend group might say if you went and did something different. You see, that's why I hate fear. It's because it robs us of these stories. It robs us of this opportunity to do things that we care about. People ask me all the time, well, how do you get courage? Well, the only way to get courage is to face your fears. So if you want courage, you've got to go for it. You've got to try out for choir. You've got to go out for basketball. You've got to have the courage to go talk to a group of people you've never talked to before. I had this fear of being mediocre, but if I would have let that paralyze me, I never would have had the courage to sleep under a bridge and do what it takes to keep my skate park open. I wouldn't even be sitting here talking to you today. I don't want you guys to make fear-based decisions. I want you to make courage-based decisions. But I fully believe that no one ever did anything incredible. No one achieved anything great. No one pursued their passions by being comfortable. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. It's gonna be scary, but it'll be worth it.